Okay, everybody. Welcome back to Punch Fear in the Face, episode 3. Today we talk about taking the next indicated step, next indicated action, slowing your life down, and what that looks like. And I know if you're watching on what I look like, I can't even bother because when inspiration hits, I'm like, yeah, I was gonna just write it down, and then I was like, fuck it, let's just go, punch record. I look like this is what I look like. I just woke up. Well, I didn't just wake up. It's 1:30. Honestly, this is how I look. Okay, so let's go. So we talked about punching fear in the face. We talked about it's not getting what you want, it's knowing what you want, and now we're talking about taking the next step, next indicated action. And these keep things kind of flow together. I want to start back at facing fear, and I talked a lot about how the reason I faced fear was because I came from a very angry place. And I want to touch on that just a little bit more because that does need to be the first thing you look at before you start to hone in on what you really want and who you really are. So I just want to tell you a little bit about my story because I will tell you that with being fearless, you take risks. And so I'm here to tell you, I have fucked up a lot. So I just want to go back a little bit about being so angry. And I talked about being angry at my father, but it was more than that. I was angry at the patriarchy. And I'm not saying I was angry at men. I wasn't angry at men. I love men. I was sleeping with plenty of them. Kidding. Sorry, honey. But no, it wasn't about that. But it was 1985. I went off to college at Arizona State. I studied architecture. There were 3 of us women in that program, and I was out of everyone. I remember I was ill-equipped for it. My education was through Los Angeles Unified School District. They bused us in the '70s. They thought that was a good idea, and I got stories there. But then I went back to the public school, to my local public school, where I think looking back, I was probably illiterate when I graduated, pretty much. There was like almost 1,000 people in my graduating class in 1985. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, California, but I graduated top 10% of my class, which wasn't really saying much. So when I went off to college, I was failing out, and I was partying a lot too. I was having fun, but so one of the things I remember, like, just to wrap why I was so angry, just to give an example of what things were like back then. So I was in physics 101 because I was an architect major and you had to take physics. I was just like, and all the math and all that, like, oh geez, here we go. And when it's a 101 beginner class, the professor has one of his grad students or helpers teach the class, right? So this young Indian from India I say kid because now he'd be a kid to me, but he was older than me at the time. And he had a headphone on. It was a big auditorium, and I was in over my head. I did not know what the hell he was talking about. So I'm like, and I was getting a solid D minus in the class probably. So I was like, oh shit. So I had to go to his after hours and ask for help. And I remember going in and sitting down, and he opened his drawer and he took out a dot. Okay, I shit you not. And he asked me to put it on my forehead. I was like, "What the fuck?" And, and I was just thinking about this because I wanted to share that story, and I don't remember if I put the dot on or not. I probably did because this is part of my story. This is where my generation there was no Me Too movement. I did what I had to do. I was pissed off, like, fuck that, fuck the patriarch, fuck you want if I put a dot on my head and I fucking pass this class, whatever. I didn't think about it. When the Me Too movement came out, I was like, "Oh my God, these beautiful young women. Yes, 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 yes. Me too, me too. Wow, we can do it a different way." Like, I'm just so proud of that whole thing because it was bad. It was really bad. Like, really. Okay, so anyway, so he wants me to put a dot on my head, and anyway, I probably did because I think I passed the class. He was probably, I don't know, maybe he was looking, he wasn't that much older than me. At least he wasn't old and creepy because, yeah, that happened too. He was young. He was just probably looking for a wife to bring home, and he wanted to see if I'd pass as Indian, because I did have really dark long hair at the time. So whatever. I do think it's kind of pretty with the dot. I, God, I love that. I think that's really cool. Third eye dot. Anyway, but so, but looking back, it started even earlier. My very first, well, no, I had a lot of jobs. My first job, I was 14 in an old folks home. But when I was 16, I worked at a print shop. Okay. So back in the days, there's going to be people out there like, what? Like, so we didn't have printers. So when you needed something copied, you had to take it down and find someone with a Xerox machine and pay him a dime. And that was me as I worked at a little shop and they would pay me and I'd make the Xerox copies. And in the back, there was a guy like what the baseball, what am I trying? Wife beater. He was in a wife beater because it was like really sweaty back there. So he's back there all sweaty and disgusting. And he was typesetting like, these cards, like, you guys, if you're not old, you won't even know what typesetting is, but this is before computers. So, and I always worked the front making little Xerox copies. People were always worried about me keeping things in order. I remember that. I'm like, don't worry. They're like, don't worry, lady. I'm fine. I can keep it in order. But that guy, he was all over me, pushing me up against the wall. I was 16, pushing me up against the sweaty arm and like grabbing me and being inappropriate. And I didn't ever say anything to the boss. The boss was creepy and inappropriate too. So whatever. I mean, it was the 80s, and that's just what we did. I didn't know that. I just knew that that's the way it was. That's all I knew. And it pissed me off. That's why I was so angry. So that anger gave me my scrappiness, which made me take a lot of risks. So I took a lot of risks. So it didn't always turn out well. It did taking risks, you have to know that I wasn't always in flow with the universe where things were manifesting and unfolding in a good way. But it did teach me that by taking risks, you learn, you grow, you find clarity, you squash anxiety. It just goes down to this. I always tell, my daughter, I remember I dated a lot. I had a lot of boyfriends. And with each boyfriend or each relationship, I wasn't any closer to discovering what I wanted. But the what I don't want boxes were all I had a lot of those ticked. "Oh, I don't want that. Oh god, don't want that, don't want that." So I became clearer on what I didn't want, for sure. Not all that much clear on what I did want, but I definitely became clear on what I didn't want. And so you have to roll with life like that. One time, after I graduated college, it was the 90s, it was a recession, and so I was working as a waitress. I was working as a waitress in a cocktail bar when I found you. Even then, oh, anyway, okay, I love that song. So anyway, my boss was running a college retreat, like spring break college trips down to Mexico. And so he hired me to help him run these things. So I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's go. Whatever. This guy, and turns out, so me and another girl, he flies us down there. We get down there. He doesn't have a room for us because he wants us to stay in his room. So it's like, fuck. And I'm young, I'm naive. I'm like, oh, fuck. And I'm a little older than everyone else because I'm teaching these kids how to do tequila shooters. And that's my job, basically. But all right, please sleep. Now, I remember the girl that we became friends. She immediately found someone she knew. I remember that. I'm like, oh, so she bunked up with them in their room and I was screwed. And I'm not going to get into the details, but so I took that risk. Didn't turn out good. But what did I learn? Always be prepared. Always have my own room. Always have my own key. Always know where I am. Oh, one time I was in Sydney for New Year's, Sydney, Australia, which is just goes off. The bridge goes off. And this is before cell phones, people. It's before Ubers. And I left the hotel with my husband at the time, first husband. Why, I know there's a lot of stories here. And we got in a fight or something with traffic jam. And I got lost from everybody. No cell phone, no money. And I'd forgotten to take like a matchbook or something from the hotel. Like I didn't even know where I was fucking staying. And it was New Year's and I forgot where I was going with this story. Oh, I ended up finding someone. I made my way back. I figured it out because you know what? You're always going to figure it out. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. But guess how much I learned? Oh my God, I'm not going to rely on my husband ever again. I'm going to make sure I know where the fuck I'm staying. Make sure I have money on me because if you got to be prepared. So, you have to sometimes have these things happen to learn. Like you got to take those risks. So until you go into flow, until and so, yeah. And so, I know there's a lot of people out there like, but I know what I want to say next. So taking the next indicated action. So what does that look like? You already know what it looks like because I can tell you. So you have these days where you're so busy. You wake up like I used to. There was a time in my life when I had a schedule that was broken down into 15-minute increments. That's how fucking busy I was, and I had to follow it. And so some of the things I'm saying, you're not at the same stage I am. I have time to meditate. I have time to sit quietly. I have time to work on my inner child, my shadow self. I didn't have time then, and so I understand if you're like, "Fuck you, Shannon." I just whatever. But you can start getting there. You can start preparing for it. You can start manifesting right now. And you can start going into flow now, and you can start having what you want now. But I understand that, we're really busy and we wake up. But I'm going to ask you, have you ever had those days where you think you have a free day? You're like, you know what? God, I kind of have a free day. This is awesome. And you wake up and you get more done that day than you've ever gotten done because you just went up and went into flow. And you just kept doing the next indicator. I got to fold the clothes. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And you get so much done. And I know we've all had that, right? And my husband lives his life like that. I can tell you, he wakes up every day and just goes into flow. Now, one of the things I'll say about that is that he has to go to the store a lot, like because he's the kind of man that's like if he's working on something and he needs a screw, he just jumps in his car and goes to the store. So he's always going somewhere to grab something. Instead of like I make a list and then I go at the end of the week and get everything on my list. And then if I forget something, oh, I beat myself up. I'm so fucking mad at myself, that I forgot something. And my husband, no, he just goes back to the store. He just goes back to the store and he doesn't beat himself up at all. He just goes with the flow. He just goes with the flow, right? Um, and he's very productive. Now, you can't ask him what he's doing tomorrow because it's hard for him to think about tomorrow. Now he does wake up in the middle of the night. That he's got that one, the bed dreads, and we're going to talk about that because that's awful, and I know a lot of people do that. And it's probably because he's in flow all day that his subconscious is taking the time at night to work it out. So we're going to talk about that. There's a woman, Susan Geisman, and I always say her name wrong, Suzanne Geisman or Giesman, or she's Gooseman. She was in the military, pretty high up, like worked for the president, kind of a thing. And then she channels now. She's full word word, but she's amazing. You guys should look her up too. She says, just take a couple minutes to take a sip of the divine. So just take a couple minutes to get quiet and clear your mind. And I hate that. Oh my God, I'm such a rebel. I hate it when people say, clear your mind, focus on your breathing. That really bothers. Like, don't tell me when to breathe. Okay. I'll breathe when I fucking feel like breathing. Okay. So what I will tell you is not to I'm not gonna lecture on how to meditate because I think everyone has to find their way. But just stop for a minute and take a sip of the divine and just breathe. For me, it's dropping into my body because my body is the vessel, my body is the antenna. So I just drop in. All I have to do is think about my body. And when I think about my body, my breath comes, right? Like just think about dropping in. It just kind of comes, but don't tell me to breathe because it pisses me off. Don't tell me to focus on my breathing. Okay, so back to why instead of meditating, because that's a tough one when you're so busy, and I get it. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough. Why not say a prayer then? Why not say a prayer? And here's a good one for when you're really busy and in the thick of it. Like, let's say you're raising kids, you're taking care of your elderly parents. Maybe you have kids that are going to be with you forever. Like, there's things. So here's a good one. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. And just take a minute and say a prayer like that. Boom, get back to your day, if that's what it is. But just that little reset, 'cause we talked about vibration. We talked about the importance of vibration. So just, taking that reset. And just in that reset, you might come out and be able to just take the next indicated action and go with the flow. And we do need to talk about stepping into fear. This is punch fear in the face. So there is something to be, you have to take risks. You have to act as if you have to fake it till you make it. You have to step into who you are. And it feels so uncomfortable. I mean, look at me right now. This is uncomfortable. But I don't care. You have to step into who you are and just be you. I'm sure there was more I was going to talk about, but punching fear in the face, figuring out what it is you truly want in life. And until then, just take the next indicated step because in action comes clarity. And next week, I want to talk about the importance of daydreaming and fantasizing because that's how manifestation really happens. And we don't allow ourselves to just, our imaginations have gone dormant because we're seeing it on TV. So all those people who are creating videos and TV content, they're still creating, and you're just feeding off their imagination. You have to get your own imagination going. And everything's divine, everything's inspiration. So like I look at people, oh, I just love people. I love everything about people because like I'll watch my show and I'm like, God, man, people are so good. They made this show. This show is so great. The actors and the writing and the costumes. And you're just like, there's such talent in the world. You have to understand that all comes from divine. That all comes from inspiration. And and it's not like it's not yours because it could be your higher power, your connection to source, but it does come from that light bulb in your crown chakra. And so you have to get quiet to have those moments and just go into flow, go to the next indicated action, and then quieting your mind. I don't want to lecture on meditating because it took me, I'm 58 and I just really started meditating 2 years, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, February, maybe. And it took me a long time. So don't meditate, say a little prayer instead and just go with the flow. Don't beat yourself up too. Right? We beat ourselves up unless you're my husband. Doesn't seem to beat himself up at all. Anyway, until next time, yeah, we're going to talk about the power of daydreaming and the pitfalls of daydreaming. There are pitfalls, but there's power in it as well. And I don't think we encourage our kids to daydream enough. And I don't think we encourage them or we show them how daydreaming leads to manifestation. All right. Especially if you've punched fear in the face, you know what you want, and you're in action, you're in motion. All right. Until next time, sending you all a lot of love and namaste.